Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Craft Supply. Let's make a gorgeous rifle sling. This is a great project. Well, first and foremost, ample room for decoration. The reason I say that is I wanted to make a sample for the video. Jet black, very tactical. Well, absolutely came out that way. The problem here is that I could not walk away from the table without adding some kind of decoration. Not in my DNA, but it did. It came out beautiful. All right, for our project, we're going to use a very rich English bridle, and this leather is a pleasure to work with. Simple pattern with ample room for adjustment. We're going to close with Chicago screws. Very secure closure for our rifle. Last thing, let's add a simple border stamp. Can't not do that, right? Double negative, but still it works. All right, as always, our first step is our pattern. So let's jump over here and get that knocked out. Now, to save us a little time, I've drawn in a couple of lines here. First off, our main body, our billet, and our strap. All right, so let's start with our main body. And all I've got here, just a couple of pieces of notebook paper, copy paper taped together, easy enough. All right, main body. I cut this at 18 because this fits me. You can cut this any length you want, depending on the person you're making this for. All right, main body, 2.5 inches wide, 2.5. And we're going to taper that down to 1.5 inches wide. So let's do this. 18 inches, drop in my straight edge, come down to 18, I'm going to draw my line, all right? But before we move our square, let's do this. We're going to taper 2.5 to 1.5. So what I need to do is mark 1/2 inch in from either side. Now, up here, let's start right there, drop our straight edge right on our marks, right from our corner. Easy enough. Same on the other side, right from that corner to our mark. Well, there's our main body. That's easy enough. Okay, let's do this. We need to punch some holes. We're going to use Chicago screws and not rivets. Now, I don't want these too close together, but also at the same time, I don't want them too far apart. 1 inch seems like a good spread. So, on our center line, main body, I'm going to come in from my edge. I don't want this too close, so let's come in 3/4 of an inch and then 1 inch spread. All right, same on the other end. Let's come in 3/4 and 1. All right, now good pattern maintenance. Let's circle these and let's drop in screw so we don't punch a hole for a rivet, which would be too small. All right, now 18 inches by 2.5. Last thing we need to do here, round end, very professional, very clean. All right, 3 inch, roughly 3 inch diameter, anything, right? Okay, spool of lace. If you have a template, that's great. But what I want to do, drop that right on the end. Make sure roughly that I have the same distance on either side. Let's just draw that in. Clean and easy, all right? Let's do that on the other end. Square either side. Drop that in. All right, main pattern, ready to go. Let's jump over to our billet. I want this 6 inches, roughly 3 on either side, 1 inch spread, and again, 3/4 inch in from the end. We're going to do that on both ends. All right, on our center line, 3/4 in, and then 1. All right, let's come out to 6 inches. Gives us plenty of spread here to make that bend. I'm going to mark my end, drop in on my center line, 3/4 and 1. All right, good pattern maintenance again. 1 inch by 6 inches. Let's drop in screw. Same here. And last thing, we're going to add round end punches. Again, very clean, very tight. So let's draw those in, denoting that we need a round end punch on that billet. We'll actually punch the pattern when we punch our leather. All right, easy thus far. Last strap. It's our adjustment strap. Now, a little bit different down here. I've only got 1 screw. So let's come in 3/4 of an inch and let's just check this. Let's make sure we've got a good bend there. 2.5 inches. So let's put that measurement between those holes. There we are. All right, let's drop in screw. Now, other end, this is where our adjustment is. We can make this strap any length. But what we're going to do, again for me, good size, 20 inches. So let's come in 20. Nice. Now let's do this too, so we don't forget. Round end punches. In fact, you'll never see those, but it is certainly a nice touch. So let's draw a round end here, round end here. All right, last thing we're going to do, let's add our adjustment measurements. Want to come in, let's say about 2 inches. That gives us a little extra room. Now I want 6 holes, 1 inch spread. All right, again, circle. And these are 4 Chicago screws, so let's drop in screw. Now 20 inches by 1 inch. Well, that's easy enough. Our patterns are ready to go. I'm going to cut these out of our paper here. I'll meet you on the main table. We'll cut some leather. Now, we're using just copy paper. Again, for our patterns, not a great pattern material, but we've all got some copy paper, easy enough to make a pattern from it. Secondly, though, if this pattern is good, after I make a few projects from this, I can transfer this over to the plastic sheeting. We sell a bag stiffener, basically, and it is a phenomenal material, very durable, perfect for patterns. Secondly, though, one of my favorite tools, the wooden strap cutter. You're going to see how incredibly easy it is to cut our 1 inch strap. All right, so first thing, let's take our body. We're going to lay this down, cut this piece. Since it's got a taper, we're going to cut this by hand. And the coolest thing about this pattern, all straight lines. In fact, for efficiency, if I wanted to make more than one, I can simply flip these across my leather, almost no waste. All right, 2. It's going to be tough to try to trace a line across notebook paper. All I need to do, butt down towards the end, I'm simply going to make a little mark there. That's the end of my cut. Square that, and I'm going to scribe in my round end cut there. Come down to this end, make my mark, and simply scribe in my round end down there. And it's a whole lot easier with a little bit thicker pattern paper. All right, let's take our straight edge, make sure we're on our mark there. On our mark there, that looks pretty clean. And we'll cut. Now, climbed up a little bit there. There we go. All right, trim that. Good, even clean cut. All right, while we're here, let's go ahead and do this. Let's drop in our Chicago screw holes. Mark for those, and we will punch. Actually, after this, our next step, we'll be punching our holes and our end punches. All right, so that's ready to go. Now, looks like we might have a little waste here, but no. What we're going to do, simply strap. Now, I've got this set right now. It's at 2 3/8, so I'm going to back off on that, bring that down to 1 inch, tighten, a little extra. Now, let's drop this in. What I'm going to do is get this started. I'm going to grab the tab here, 1 inch strap, and I'm going to pull that a little bit to the left, just a bit. And a bit off the table out of the shot, but look at that, clean and easy. Beautiful 1 inch every time. All right, so our first strap, let's bring this over. We're going to cut this 20 inches. And then our billet, and that should be 6 inches. So let's cut that. Now we'll actually punch our round ends on our leather and our patterns when we jump over to the quartz, but for now, let's go ahead and mark these while we've got them in front of us. There we go. Good. Then we need a round end there. All right, so we're marked. Let's jump over here to our quartz slab and drop in some holes. Now, I typically say 1/4 inch for Chicago screw holes. Well, first off, what's a Chicago screw? Simple enough. It is just a threaded rivet. But we're going to use a decorative cap on our project. Very cool. All right, so I'm going to use a 3/16 or 1/4 inch here. 3/16 is nice, but here's the thing with a 1/4 inch. I'm going to have to go through 3 pieces of leather here. Now, that's going to be really tough to line up unless my holes are absolutely spot on, and they never really are. So a 1/4 inch is going to give me a little room for error. So from our pattern, let's drop in our 4 1/4 inch holes. And these little plugs, I really hate them. But since I mentioned that, we've gotten a couple of comments of some pretty creative ways to use these little things, but to be honest with you, very frustrating. All right, so what we want to do, our pattern here calls for 1 inch round end. So let's take our 1 inch round end punch, drop that in, very nice. Good and clean, just what we're looking for, all right? Now, here's the thing, revolving punch certainly will work here, but typically the largest tube size is just a hair small for a Chicago screw. All right, so I am going to mark and punch the other 2 pieces, then let's work on our edges. And my last hole, there we go. That looks good. And see that? That was going straight into my shoe to make me crazy all afternoon. All right. Very nice. Now, let's step over here. I'm going to clean this up. We're going to do some edge work. All right, set up and ready to go. Let's take our main body. Start with our groover. Now, I've got this one marked yellow. I have several groovers, all with different widths. This is my 1/8 inch. Great for my stitch lines and my border work. So let's drop in a 1/8 inch groove line around all edges. And our last groove line, good. Now we're going to take a number 2 Master Tools edger, and I'm going to edge all 4 sides, or all 4 corners on both sides. Look how clean and easy that moves. Very nice, almost already rounded. All right, I'm going to do the other 2 pieces. Our edge work is done. Now we are going to slick our edges or burnish our edges, but we're going to do that when we assemble this. This actually right now is clean enough to assemble. It's beautiful and it would work nicely, but we're going to do 2 more things before we knock this together. Let's step over here and put in that gorgeous border stamp. Now on our sample here, notice we've got what's called a continuous mule's foot. This is one of my favorite tools because it really kind of pushes the border work more into the project. Kind of takes it out of just something along the edge. All right, we're also going to use a veiner. Again, a great tool, one of my favorites for the border work. All right, so we've got opposing mule foots here. All right, we certainly can offset these, but I don't want it off to where it looks odd. So let's do this. Let's start here. I'm going to take my square and let's say 8 inches from my bottom corner. Simply going to make a little mark. All right, let's do 8 inches, bottom corner again. Now, this is our starting point. So what we're going to do, we're going to add a mule's foot on both sides. Nice. Now let's flip that around. Good. They're pointing to each other. Now what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to take my veiner and I'm going to work veiner foot in both directions. Now, here's part of the trick though, to keep this consistent. Notice how I've got my veiner literally sitting in the corner of the mule's foot. That's going to keep my pattern consistent as I work down, but also too, we're starting in the middle. Therefore, we have less room for error. If we start down here, one or the other over this distance could really start to get out of whack. Again, I don't want that. So working out from the center, we're going to have nice spacing. And my last mule's foot. Well, that looks great. Very clean and consistent. We can certainly offset it. Your project, you do it the way you want. But two, every stamp is not perfect. Here's a trick. If I'm working towards my end and I notice over here I'm starting to maybe get a little longer, well, I can spread this out just a little bit and maybe bunch that a little bit to try to get that back together. But other than that, that is a beautiful border. Now, notice this too. We didn't have to use any water. This is an English bridal leather, waxes and tallows. Going to take a beautiful stamp, no water required. All right, this is beautiful. Let's drop a top coat on this and we are almost done. Now, when we add a top coat, here's what we're after. Notice the difference between the two leathers. This just pops, rather flat, but also too, look how rich that color is. Now, technically, top coat sealant, but for me, the two very important items there is it gives it a very nice clean gloss, but also too, it gives it a pop, gives that color some good pop. Now, I'm going to pour this into a bowl. This is Leather Balm. Love it. Easy on, easy off. Actually smells nice. No ventilation required. But I tend to like to apply this a little bit sparingly. So right here, I'm going to drop this in. Now, I want to get a little bit down in those cuts there. Now, let's go to a second rag, and I'm going to rub that off. Nice. All right, now it always scares me because it's going to go flat. But if we give it a second and we buff it easily, look at that. That is just gorgeous. Rich color. That is beautiful. Just what I'm looking for. All right, so I'm going to put some Leather Balm on my other two straps. Then we're going to knock this together. And the last bit of buffing, is that just not beautiful? That leather is as smooth as glass. But that brings up a point. I want to be cautious. If I get a fold in my rag, when I'm buffing and I really bear down, very likely going to leave a mark down the middle of my leather. So be cautious of that. Now, last thing before assembly. We're going to use some gum trag. We're going to slick or burnish our edges. All this is, I'm going to rub some gum trag on. Now I want to go a little lightly, just enough to get that edge wet. I don't want to go too heavy so it wraps around onto my face or my skive. I'm going to drop that in. I'm going to take my burnisher. This is the Coca Bolo and it is phenomenal. Drop that in and simply burnish back and forth. Maybe 8 or 10 times right there. May not be able to see it on the camera, but already that edge has gotten slicked. It's very smooth. It's got a high gloss look to it. May take that just a little bit more. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to hit gum trag on all my edges. I'm going to slick or burnish every edge. Then we'll put this together. Now, assembly, easiest part of this entire project. So let's just start at one end. Now, this portion, one screw, this is going to go around the swivel on the rifle. So I'm going to come in from the front. Now, let's flip that around, because I can drop that over the edge. Notice how my loop is out here, so that makes it very easy for me to find that hole and drop in the screw. Easy enough. Looks good too, doesn't it? All right, let's go up to our main body. Now on this end, again, 2 screws. Drop those in, flip that over. Well, stay in there for me. Now, we've taken time with our pattern. Let's see how this lines up. Spot on. That makes this so easy. All right, let's drop these in. Now, I typically will put a little dab of glue in these once I get these on the rifle. And once I get the measurements set, we don't want to weld this screw in there, but we also don't want that working out over time. Now, third piece, we're actually going to go through 3 pieces of leather here. So, where is that extra one? There we go. All right, let's drop those on there. Drop that in. There we go. Nice fit. All right. Bend this over, and again, this will go around the swivel on the rifle. So I'll drop these in. And the last screw in. Is that not a beautiful rifle strap? Well, I could not be happier with the outcome of this project. That is gorgeous. Very clean, very tight, and very professional. Now, open canvas. Again, we've dropped in just a basic border stamp. Sky is the limit right there. But here's one big point. Quality leather, quality hardware, and quality tools. That's the first step in the entire process. All right, second point on our pattern. We've got a clean, tight pattern. So I'm going to transfer my pattern over to our plastic sheeting. This makes a great pattern material, very durable. Well, at this point, I hope every rifle sling you make is gorgeous. Good luck with your projects.